So what do you think is happening?
Well, I got an idea now that the pieces are falling into place, and talking to Jamie earlier about truth again,
Yeah.
my thing about truth, is I actually feel that that's what a lot of spirituality is. It's about truth. And one thing that fell into place just now was that when you finally discovered, after a week of having a go at him, and not really having a go at him, but trying to support him in doing his homework, I felt he was lying and he was fibbing about something, whatever we want to call that. But in other words, it's being unspiritual, basically. And then I spotted last night that it's the male ego trying to assert itself, even against the boy's own mother, basically. And he keeps saying, well, don't get involved, I'm handling that. Don't tell me what to do. Stop telling me what to do. Stop getting involved. Stop. Will you please detach from this, detach from that? And then so when you don't do that, obviously this what I call a war of attrition is carrying on, basically.
Right.
And what I think is that when I picked up about fibbing, in fact, it's what I've termed in the past as being withholdy.
Yeah.
Because actually, he wasn't really fibbing. He was in a way, because you would say, oh, did you do anything to your homework today when you went up to around the corner to your dad's place? And he would go, yeah, well, I did a few notes, but actually, it actually hadn't done anything at all. I don't believe it for 1 second, because you can always tell when someone's lying, but actually he wasn't lying. It was very interesting. He was withholding. He was very withholding. And then finally, when we did a breakthrough, when you put in one of your big weapons today to help you with this project, and I am the soldier that you put in there, because you know that I'm the SAS of soldiering inside people's heads and trying to find what their truth is, and actually trying to get them to break out of where they are and get out of their heads and into their heart and into their truth. One of the things that fell into place just earlier was that he'd withheld information that from you while you were trying to help and support him, that the teachers had given him special help, or whatever this is, with his homework, special dispensations of all sorts. So therefore the pressure wasn't on about the homework anyway. Just wasn't. And it took me, that's your main SAS soldier, an hour to break that down. And then he was in tears. And you have to look at every time someone gets in tears. They're not in tears about something you said a quarter of an hour ago or 20 minutes ago. They'll get into tears when they've been spotted or seen or have been accused of something which they know holds the truth in it. And he started crying again when he said, and his interpretation of that was, oh, I'm being told off. Whereas I wasn't telling him off. And the thing is, all I was trying to do was uncover truth. And I uncovered, and he knows it, that he was being withholdy. And then he realised that, you know, whether he wanted to ignore it or not, he'd actually given you a lot of pain because you explained that to him for a week and more about getting his homework done and getting his life together again. When actually he held all the answers already, which he talked to his teachers and they'd given him special dispensation, which the teachers hadn't told you, and neither had he. So this is only part of the whole game, but the whole game is basically, these are all battles that are being fought on the in the war of control, and sometimes it's control over the other, and sometimes it is controlling the other to keep away, so that they may think that they're controlling their own life. But it is to do with control. It's not to do with flow, spirituality, giving, receiving, appreciating. There's none of that. It's actually just cutting oneself off coldly and actually just saying, oh, by the way, I'm in trouble, and getting the person to help them with the trouble while not giving them the whole information, so that the other one who's trying to help them is weakened somewhat because they don't hold all the cards and all the truth. And it just goes on and on and on. And the real purpose of all this, I see in some rightness now, is that he, as a 15-year-old male, is literally building his ego, God forbid, and actually saying, no one tells me what to do. No one asks me what to do. It actually comes along with the 15-year-old teenager. It's part and parcel. No one can do anything about it, only they can do something about it. And actually, every time I've gone near complete detachment, I've felt a truth in there, and I've felt it in my heart that that was the right thing to do, and so have you at times. But what I find also interesting is, when someone's in a flow of something, when they're spotted, they get very embarrassed and they get very in a corner, and it takes them a while to get out of it, or climb down, what I call climb down. And then I looked around at all of us, that's him, you and me, and then I said some things to you. Because, you know, in a war, you'll put in your best soldier for the best thing. But I'll tell you one thing about putting soldiers into a war. If they get into a war, often they get injured. Very interestingly, when some soldiers get injured and they actually get sent home on leave to recover their wounds, some of them might even go for a drink, God forbid, but they do, because every war book I've ever read is they'll drown themselves in drink, alcohol for a while, just to recover, just to give a respite, just to let off steam, just to allow that experience to dissipate and help them to do it, which it has, of course, you know, alcohol as a drug has the capacity to help one do. But I realised as I said, well, that was a battle and a half to myself, and then sort of kind of shared that with you a little bit, that we had been trying to control him. He had been fighting that control to gain his own control. He had played a war in battles of defensive, that is when he pulls in sympathy and starts crying, offensive, when he starts to shout and jump up and down and thump walls and actually be rude and you know, absolutely, oh, leave me alone. And there was another one I came up with, which was offensive defense. An offensive defense is to lie, cover, withhold. But it's actually, what is that thing that people talk about in psychology?
Passive aggression.
Passive aggression. And so I could see that bit in there as well. But what I'm also coming up with here is, he is not wrong. He is not right, he's not wrong, he's not good, he's not bad. You're not right, wrong, good or bad. And neither am I right, wrong, good or bad. And neither are teachers, and neither is the law. It just is what it is. So this kind of leads me back into the flow now, because that's what I'd worked out a bit earlier. And I can see that when Jamie left, you and I, entered into a small battle of control. Because I wanted to go and let my hair down after being into a battle. You had, whether you like to admit or not, rightly or wrongly or whatever, put me into the front line because there was no more fighting you could do there.
Yeah.
So you stepped back and became the general. You, in a way, used my love and my strength and my regard for you and my regard for Jamie to go out there and battle the young ego, basically.
That's right.
That has a tendency to lead towards me being the bad one again, because Pat's always the bad one, because he's the one that goes inside people's heads and finds out truth, and then those people don't like it, at least for a while, or sometimes forever. And what happens with me is that I get worn down, because it's actually not something I want to do, but I do. I seem to have this cursed blessing that I can do this, and I've had it for a long time. So it was interesting, because we had a control issue going on after he'd left. So basically what we're talking about here is control through fear, or because of fear of not having things just the way we want them. But we can't have everything the way we want it. It's absolutely impossible. And that's what I'm seeing. And I know that all of that may not be terribly wise, but that is just my experience today. And it seems to me that has touched my spiritual self and my knowing self, because I think that true spirituality is all-knowing, and allowing that in. I'm not all-knowing, I'm allowing the all-knowing in. But I'm starting to get there. Now, I don't know if you have any questions about that, because this is the route I'm on at the moment.
That all sounds fine, but actually, as it happens, I'm going to finish the film here, because we can only do it in 10-minute blobs, and we're nearly at 10 minutes, so I'll just stop it and then start it again in a minute.
Right.